lots of tenant rights, but what about landlord rights? I'm working for you to figure out what they are and how owners can protect themselves.
The Unsafe Camping Ordinance passes its final vote. I'll take you inside the meeting where a lot of people had plenty to say.
The meeting happening right now about the future of Anza Cove.
A plan to make schools safer in the Cajon Valley Union School District.
New permitted parking and a housing complex leaves many neighbors without a parking spot.
CBS 8 News Live at 6 starts now. We begin tonight with breaking news in Riverside County, where a brush fire in Paris has already burned several homes. Good evening, I'm Marcella Lee.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. At last check, the juniper fire has burned 55 acres. CAL FIRE says crews have stopped its spread. It broke out about 2:30 this afternoon near Santa Rosa Mine Road in Paris. We don't know yet what caused it. Evacuations are in place. You see there some structures burning that looks to be a home, and people are being sent to a local middle school.
According to Riverside County Fire, 163 firefighters are on the ground and in the air battling this brush fire. We will continue to follow the latest developments and bring you updates during this newscast and on all of our social media platforms. Our other top story tonight, a new tenant protection ordinance just went into effect here in San Diego, but many people are wondering, what rights do landlords have?
CBS 8's Shannon Handy talked to an attorney today who specializes in landlord rights. She's live in Claremont working for you to find out how owners can protect themselves before renting out their properties. Shannon.
Carlo and Marcella, that new ordinance will require landlords to pay between 2 and 3 months worth rent if a tenant is evicted through no fault of their own. It joins a long list of tenant protections, but we recently aired a story that had a lot of our viewers asking, what about protecting landlords?
It looks to me it's damn near impossible to get anybody out of your house.
Last week, we aired a story about a couple in Encanto having trouble evicting a group of people from their rental property following 9 months of unpaid rent.
They are squatters. They haven't paid a nickel.
Barbara Gunner says they moved in after her longtime tenant died. She filed an eviction case, but the judge ruled against her twice. It all came down to what the judge called a verbal lease agreement formalized when Gunner accepted initial rent payments from one of the tenants. On her CBS 8 Facebook page, comments in support of Gunner range from "That's California, anti-landlord state" to "Who protects the owners?"
How long until there are ramifications for that?
So I sought answers from Joshua Tucker of Local Realty Law, a firm that specializes in real estate with an emphasis on representing landlords.
In other states like Arizona, it's much easier to remove a tenant.
Tucker acknowledged California has strict tenant protection laws, many of which came about during COVID. He says landlords have rights too, including being able to evict someone for not paying rent. Still, it's crucial for landlords to take extra steps to protect themselves. For starters, always have a written lease agreement. Consider hiring a property management firm to handle the lease or seek the advice of an attorney before writing one. Address rent or other issues as they happen. Don't delay. Make sure the property is up to date with repairs. And if you are trying to evict someone, everything needs to be done by the book.
It appears that there's forms you can fill out or complete your eviction. But in this area of law, if you make even a minor mistake, you have to start all over again. There's no room for any sort of minor errors.
Tucker says he commonly sees eviction cases thrown out or landlords lose in court for this very reason. In addition to filling out forms properly, he says eviction notices have to be served to each tenant, not just one person. But some question, even if everything is done right, why do evictions take so long? Tucker blames a backlog in the court system as well as a lack of resources to deal with it.
The process is...
And Tucker says documenting everything is also key, including unpaid rent. Now, in California, landlords can evict a tenant for not paying their rent under what's called a 3-day or quit law. But as Tucker mentioned, everything has to be done to the T. And he believes that it was possibly mistakes made with that Encanto couple, which led to the judge ruling against them. Marcella and Carlo?
And Shannon, a lot of the questions about landlord rights we've gotten over the past week came from the story that we ran last week that you referred to. Do we have any update on that situation?
Yes, actually, the couple, the woman in that story, she reached out to David Gofferson, the reporter who did that story today. She thanked him for doing the story. She said after the story aired, at least one of the tenants has moved out. Another is going to move out. As for getting the rest of the people in that house out, she says that she is planning to hire an attorney and will try the eviction process again.
All right, Shannon Handy reporting for us live. Thanks, Shannon. The city of San Diego's controversial encampment ban is set to take effect on July 30th. The city council officially passed the ban late this morning after a second reading. The ordinance prohibits homeless encampments within 2 blocks of schools, some parks, near waterways, and along trolley tracks. It will also make all camping on public property illegal when shelter options are available. Mayor Todd Gloria says the city will be training all responders over the next several weeks so that they understand how to enforce the ban. We'll have much more coming up tonight in our second half hour.
Prosecutors played surveillance video in an El Cajon courtroom today showing a young woman dying inside a medical isolation cell at the Las Colinas jail in Santee. Now, CBS 8 was inside that courtroom, but the judge did not allow cameras.
The on-duty jail nurse, Dana Lee Pasqua, and corrections doctor Friedrich von Lintig are both charged with involuntary manslaughter in the inmate's death. 24-year-old Elisa Cerna was pregnant and suffering drug and alcohol withdrawal when she was found dead inside her cell in 2019. The nurse's defense attorney and the parents of the woman who died spoke outside of court.
I don't believe that the people will be able to meet their burden. I don't believe my client had a disregard for human life. She followed protocol. She attempted to take vitals.
It disgusts me how little compassion they have, how they could just leave somebody, walk away, shut the door, left my daughter to die.
The video showed Cerna fall over inside her cell where she remained without moving for nearly an hour before she was found dead. The preliminary hearing, which will determine if there's enough evidence to send the case to trial, continues tomorrow.
Right now, advocates for bringing wetlands back to Mission Bay are speaking in front of a panel hoping to impact the city's final decision.
For years now, the future of De Anza Cove has been up in the air. And earlier this year, the city of San Diego proposed the De Anza Natural Plan to bring wetlands back to the area. CBS 8's Jesse Pagan is live at Paradise Point Resort in Mission Bay, where a meeting is just starting. Jesse?
Carla, Marcella, since the city announced De Anza Natural, several groups have been trying to strike that balance between recreation and nature. Right now, inside the ballroom behind me, the group from the San Diego Audubon, the Rewild Mission Bay Coalition, some of those members, along with other people and other groups like Camp Friends of Campland, are inside there making their case to this panel of why they support or they're against turning De Anza Cove into wetlands again.
Wetland restoration right here at De Anza. We know we need it. We've said it 30 years ago.
Andrew Meyer says turning parts of De Anza Cove back into its more natural wetland state is not just a want, but a need.
The tiny little postage stamp of tidal habitat that we have remaining is 40 acres. It's about 1% of the original habitat that we had here, and it's doing a lot of work for us all the time, cleaning our water and keeping us resilient from sea level rise and storm surges.
For months, he and his colleagues in the nonprofit San Diego Audubon's Rewild Mission Bay Coalition have been meeting with different groups to say their piece. They support the city of San Diego's amendment to the Mission Bay Park Master Plan called De Anza Natural, and they had a similar plan of their own. The plan proposes turning this area back into mostly wetlands, but it hasn't been an easy sell for everyone.
Why are we picking the north corner, which has a treasure of recreation?
Several groups from campers to sports leagues worried the plan would push them into a small space or kick them out. Last week, many of them came to an agreement.
Folks that are activating the baseball fields, softball fields, tennis courts, those user groups know that there's plenty of space for them to remain and even get better parks if they can trust the process.
The De Anza Ad Hoc Committee that's meeting here tonight will submit a recommendation of sorts to the Mission Bay Park Committee by their next meeting July 11th. In turn, the Mission Bay Park Committee will then submit a recommendation to the city when they do finally take up the De Anza Natural project for hearings and votes coming this fall. Live in Mission Bay, Jesse Pagan, CBS 8.
All right, Jesse. Thanks, Jesse. A family tragedy for NASCAR driver and El Cajon native Jimmy Johnson. Police say his wife's parents and nephew were killed in what appears to be a murder-suicide in Muskogee, Oklahoma. 68-year-old Terry Janway is suspected of shooting and killing her husband, 69-year-old Jack Janway, and their 11-year-old grandson, Dalton. The couple's daughter, Chandra, is Jimmy Johnson's wife. Johnson's team has pulled out of an upcoming race in Chicago.
A parking shortage in the South Bay is causing frustration among neighbors who say they're left with a choice of parking far from their homes or getting a ticket. After an affordable housing complex was built in National City, we're told competition for parking between residents and city employees went from bad to worse. CBS 8's Abby Black is working for you. She's live to show us what the problem is and what's being done to address it. Abby.
Carlo, here's the problem. When people started moving into this affordable housing complex, they started parking here on the street. Well, it's right across the way from City Hall, and this is where city employees used to park, and then they lost it. So the city then permitted 12th Street and the surrounding areas during full business hours, but then there was pushback. So the city then reduced those hours from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday. One mother says it still has not solved the problem. We're working for you on how this parking issue is being addressed.
The grass.
This National City family is frustrated with the parking issue around their downtown complex.
The parking spaces are not being enforced in the affordable housing to make it livable.
We called Mayor Ron Morrison down to chat with us and neighbor Yvette Vargas.
It's not a city problem, and it's not even an apartment problem. It's a state problem.
Mayor Morrison's talking about the new state-approved affordable housing complex across the street from City Hall. The mayor says parking requirements do not need city approval. We found under state law, if there's adequate public transit in the area, parking is not required for each unit. In this case, there are 88 parking spaces for 101 units.
We need housing, and I'm pro of doing the affordable housing because we do need it in California. But just going down into the local level, it's going to destroy the communities because people, they need their cars.
The mayor says it's not just this complex causing a parking shortage. He says the state is building more affordable housing in National City, adding 5,000 new units and limited parking. Morrison says that he's shared his concerns with state legislators.
We got one senator from San Francisco. His name is Wiener, and so he makes all these Wiener bills, and it's one after another that is just destroying our neighborhoods, and he just doesn't care.
I called State Senator Scott Wiener's office. A spokesperson says the parking requirements for this project were reduced under the state density bonus program, which he says Senator Wiener did not author or create.
It's mission impossible what local government is being asked to do right now.
Vargas hopes by reaching out to CBS 8, the word will spread and unite neighbors in other cities to fight back.
We don't have enough resources to defend ourselves from the state program, and I think this is just a consequence of the deep root of the problem.
I also reached out to local Assembly member David Alvarez and State Senator Steve Padilla, but they have not gotten back to me for a comment. Carlo?
Abby, with this new growth in National City, what about mass transportation? Is there being anything done to improve access to that, especially with this affordable housing?
Well, Carlo, it also is falling on the city, but Mayor Ron Morrison says that he hopes in the fall that it will launch this new free transit program called Frank. It stands for Free Ride Around National City, and what you can do is you can request a ride on an app. It's free, and then it is with a zero emissions shuttle. It'll take you to the grocery store, to other mass transit locations. It's pretty cool, but we also want to mention that with this new growth, Carlo, the mayor says that the city council recently approved hiring more police officers and dispatchers.
All right, thanks, Abby. Here at CBS 8, we want to help solve problems affecting you. If there's something you'd like us to look into, email us at workingforyou@cbs8.com.
Still ahead tonight, a new school safety plan is on the books in the East County.
Plus, we now know who will take over for Pat Sajak on Wheel of Fortune next year, and he's no stranger to hosting a live TV show.
And the marine layer, well, it's non-existent. From Gloomageddon to bright sunny skies, I'm meteorologist Sean Stiles with your microclimate forecast.
Plus, we take a look inside the newly approved state budget and where that money is going.